There are many tales to tell of Arda, of the elves, of the rise and fall of man. But our tale, the tale of the One Ring, began on the 4th of July in 3009 of the Third Age of Middle-earth. Peace had been purchased long ago, and the northern realms had been safe, thanks in no small measure to the Dunedain, protectors of the north and descendants of Numenor. But darkness was again creeping into hidden places. Something precious, something once lost, had been found. Like a moths to flame, the orcs multiplied. Wicked wolves roamed the North Downs. The ancient fortress of Fornost, once a stronghold of the men of the West, fell into shadow. A company of men, dwarves, elves, and even a hobbit rose to face that enemy. Indeed, there were times of triumph, but there were also seasons of sadness and of suffering. But finally, after long journeys, the company of the Kingsfell and their alliance retook Fornost and rebuilt it. The Shadow was forced to retreat. But no victory against darkness is final. A council of the wise then bade the company again to travel, this time to the east. There they investigated a growing gloom that hung over the boughs of Mirkwood like a malign disease. Indeed, Elrond and the Council of Rivendell had been correct. The Shadow had grown bold. War in Middle-earth was on the horizon. But this information came at a price. Arthanor, High Elf of Rivendell, was slain while crossing the Misty Mountains. The company was then pursued by Black Riders, even unto the eastern slopes of the Bruinen Valley. It was only by fate that they were saved. Gandalf then returned them unharmed. The company reached Rivendell with this news. The Dark Lord Sauron's second lieutenant now dwelt in Dol Guldur. He was preparing war against the free peoples. It was only reasonable to assume that Sauron himself and his mightiest lieutenant, the Witch King of Angmar, were also gathering their gruesome might, this time in Mordor, where the shadows lie. Indeed, the hammer of the Dark Lord would soon fall, and he desperately wanted the One Ring that held all of his power and all of his malice. It is here that our most recent tale nears its conclusion. For in the end, songs will be sung and poems written about the company of the Kingsfell and how they rode west one last time, of how they journeyed into the bitter Barrow Downs and nearly perished, but then ended up in the company of Frodo Baggins, the Ring-bearer. Along with Aragorn, son of Arathorn, it will be sung of how Eravul, son of Arafel, goodwill took Vidar, son of Godar, and Berendir and Aglaron the elf protected their charge even as the very forces of Barad-dûr bore down upon them. In the end, it was Arthanor, returned from the undying lands in the west, and riding a bright horse that shone with glimmering light, who allowed the ring-bearer safe passage across the Bruinen River. The ring-wraiths were vanquished, at least for now, and it is here that our next book begins.